Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another excellent podcast. This is my favorite podcast, your favorite podcast. It's a podcast about video games. They're finally doing them, and they're putting them on the internet for you to consume directly into your ears. This is episode 28 of Arcade Parlor. Woo. Well, okay. It's Arcade Parlor. Welcome in to all of our listeners. We want to thank those who have joined us here on the live stream on twitch.tv. Thank you for coming in here. We always do these on Saturdays. People have a million things they have going on Saturdays, and we're appreciative of you guys who are able to be here for this. We also want to thank our listeners who are going to be listening to this episode starting on the release date, which is December 16th. So thank you so much for continuing to download and listen to our episodes. We greatly appreciate you. Today is episode 28. It's December 14th is the time of recording. And we're ready to record.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. I'm going to go around the room right now. I'm joined, of course, by Ashley. Ashley, how are you doing this afternoon?
Hello, Pancho Taco. I'm a little confused today. I'm a little confused.
Okay, why are we confused?
There's two of you on my screen, and I don't know if that's right.
We're just gonna start off with this, right? We're just gonna
start off with this, right? We're just gonna start off with this.
Oh, geez.
They're even talking the same.
All right. Okay. We're going to do an early intro for our guests.
Wow.
I think we have to at this point. I think we have to. Okay. We are joined in this episode 28. We are joined by Composer of twitch.tv. Hello, Composer.
That's me. Hi, everyone. I am com_poser, or Tyson, or I guess if we're using our superhero names or our made up names, I don't know, real names. Hi, everyone. Very happy to be here. Happy Saturday.
Yes. Happy Saturday.
When did Composer start hosting this podcast? This is so weird.
I know. It is weird. The reason why we're backing up a little bit or just jumping ahead to have to intro our person is Ashley said there's two of me on the screen right now. This is a thing, apparently. Is a lot of people say that for that Composer. I mean, well, first off, Composer is very, very handsome. Very, very handsome, some say.
Quit insulting yourself. Like, I'm sorry that you have to suffer this comparison. All right. Look, we both may be equally great faces for radio, but you put a camera on us, and I think it's pretty clear who the winner is. All right. It's kind. It's flattery for me and insult for you, but I'll take it.
It's great to have you on your Composer. We don't normally intro our guests this early, but we had
I'm sorry.
to at
I'll
this
be
point.
quiet again. Go. Continue your shenanigans. I'm just here in the corner staring awkwardly. It's fine.
I had to say something at the start, which hi everybody, so happy to be here as always. But I had to say something at the start because you two are known in the Mario community as Twitch doppelgangers, and it's actually kind of hilarious how similar you both look. You would pass for brothers any day in any place.
Two guys with glasses and beards on the internet. Who would have thought you would live to see the day?
With a comb over, yeah.
You're right, yeah,
okay,
exactly.
The Santa hats
Same
don't
exact
help.
hairstyles, yeah.
The Santa hats don't help.
I don't. Look, I dealt with my hair situation with the comb over. Poncho apparently got a wig. That's what I've learned, and so
this is CGI wig.
It's not wig. It moved from wig at one point to CGI. I don't know how that
CGI.
That whole thing happened. Yeah, my hair has been claimed to be CGI this whole time. I don't know what it takes to prove that I don't have CGI here. Like I've gone.
I didn't know we had the budget for
that. Pulled my hair as hard as I could and as fast as I could, which no CGI program could possibly keep up with the speed that I'm able to do that at. But people just don't believe it. I don't know. I don't know what to do.
for those who
Ashley,
are,
it's great to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you for interrupting yourself.
I'm so sorry. It's just so funny. Like for those who are listening and not like checking out like live or on our YouTube, you have to go to the two streams and just see these two men. And sometimes though, when they raid each other after streams, the raid messages will be twin raid. It's you raiding yourself.
Yep.
So anyways, I'll be your host for today's episode. Welcome in, everyone. Oh,
Thank
wait.
you.
No, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Please continue.
Easiest episode of Poncho's
Ashley,
life.
Ashley, how are things going in Florida for you these days? I know you said you're confused. Hopefully we cleared something up, but how are you doing?
I'm doing good. It is 75 degrees today. I know we always talk about the weather because it's always freezing where you are, and it's always really warm where I am. If you were listening last episode, I did get my car. I do finally have 4 wheels, baby. Watch out,
GG.
Florida drivers.
4 wheels in a dream.
Yeah. I got a Honda CRV. I'm so happy about it. Love my car. It has a sunroof.
Nice.
It has a sunroof.
Okay, can you open and close?
Yep.
Can you?
Is it all automatic?
Nice.
Yeah, it is actually.
So that opening, okay.
Yep. It's
Nice,
so cool.
nice.
It's so cool. So I'm very happy. I worked really hard for it. And yeah, dude, what a great episode this is going to be. It's Christmas time. We just had the Game Awards. Like, there's just so much going on. And I could not be. I know we normally don't already introduce the guests, but I am super, super excited. We've been talking about having Composer on for months now. So I'm very glad that we finally are able to talk to Composer today. It's going to be a good one.
I know we've been. I had messaged in our own little group. I was like, we gotta get Composer on here at some point. You know, this was like, I don't know, maybe like a year ago when we first even said it. Just like as time goes on, you know, it's just like you know, there's just a lot goes on. But finally, we're here and we're ready to record. This is. I'm excited for it.
Look, Poncho, how many awkward Thanksgivings and Christmases did we sit through where like we could have talked about me being on the podcast and nothing.
Just nothing.
Yeah.
Too many.
I'm sorry. I'm going to do that thing where like sometimes I say Poncho and sometimes I say David, but chat knows, right? We're okay.
Yeah. We
together.
interchange those names all the time.
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Especially Ashley,
Right.
just all the time.
I met you in
Yeah.
person and I
It's
never
really-
called you David. I called you Ponch the whole time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ponch. Hey, Ponch, that's offensive. You keeping it trim. All right. Ponch and Poncho, those are two completely different things. It's okay. I'm
Oh God.
probably the only guy that like doesn't immediately react with disdain when people call me poser. So, you know, it's
Oh yeah.
right. Everyone's just like, "What's up, poser?" I'm just like,
That was big offensive when I was in like middle school.
Hey.
right.
Do you remember those days where people were like metal heads and bass heads and you're wearing Slipknot to name 3 songs or you're a poser? Did you guys have that in like your middle school days?
Yeah, that is a thing. Yeah, that is 100% a thing.
I'm from Slipknot country.
Oh.
I met Corey Taylor at a college party my freshman year of college.
Really?
They weren't like a super big thing. Yeah, I mean, because I'm from the same town as them, or live. Anyways, and so yeah, they were around before they were a big thing. But I was like, I'm at college now. I'm here to meet ladies.
Yeah.
Hi, Corey. Yeah, it's great to meet you. Moving on. All right.
I'm gonna go over there.
I need to go to the other side of the room where they can't see you over here and be distracted. I'm sorry. I'm already taking the completely wild tangent here because you said Slipknot. I'm gonna behave now.
I actually researched this. I went to your college and found out that's why I mentioned them. So.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we research all of our guests thoroughly.
Oh, I could feel that. Like you didn't even need to say anything. Like you watch 5 minutes of this podcast, you listen to 5 minutes. That's what people do with podcasts. They listen to them.
Yeah.
And yeah, you could tell.
This is going to be a nice episode too, because like the jingling from your hat is making it very festive and very merry.
Oh, is it too loud?
No, it's like just this little baby ambiance, just barely, and it's kind of making
it's wonderful.
It's making it a little bit magical. Okay. I'm not going to lie.
It was for a Clark Griswold costume a year or so back, and so he's got the jingles on the Santa hat, so we had to put a couple jingles on, and so it's also David. I don't know if you have this problem or not. I have a ginormous head. Like when I go to I have a flat cap that I've been seen wearing. Mm-hmm. And when I went and bought it at like an official, what's the milliner shop? That's the fancy word for it. Place that makes hats.
Oh.
And like the guy was like, we don't keep hats for the freakishly large heads out in the showroom. I have to go in back. Like we have a hat that fits you, but like you got to give me a minute.
We hide it from everybody else.
Yes, exactly. We don't want them to think that we service people with giant heads here. And so like same with this Santa hat, like the wife had to cut the back of it and put in a little bit of elastic here because it was too tight. It was like pinching my brains. Like we couldn't find a Santa hat that fit me. And they made fun of me in middle school for it as well. Like, what are you going to do? Go to the gym and get on the head machine? Like I can't, I gotta,
oh my God.
I don't know what. Anyways, I'm sorry, Tom Papa. I think I stole that joke from you in case Tom Papa's listening. I'm sorry, buddy.
I don't have that issue. Most things fit my head unless it's like designed for a woman to wear or like a child or something like that. Yeah. I'm a pretty universal fit.
Wait, I guess I don't know. Like maybe you're tiny. Like I'm 6'2", so I figured you were similarly sized. Are you like 5'8" or something? I'm sorry, I don't know docs.
Nope.
No, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I'm 6 foot on a good day, 5'11" on a normal day.
Okay, it's okay. I won't bring the tape measure over. It's fine. But yeah, for whatever reason, to keep all of the knowledge in there, it's just I have a hard time with hats. That's all I'm saying.
It's that big brain.
Yeah, that's the excuse that I give for sure.
The big brain. Well, it's great to have you on here, Composer. Thank you so much for joining episode 28. Super excited to talk to you about some stuff coming up here. As for me, myself, I am your host, David Pancho Taco. You guys know me. I've been here, and this is you've heard me 27 times before. You know who I am. Let's see. It's a balmy. It's actually pretty warm here right now. It's 34 degrees. It's
wow.
34 degrees. It's pretty warm. I don't know. Composer, are you you're East Coast, right?
Oh no, I am Midwest, baby. Come on, Slipknot, Iowa. Corn.
Yep.
No, okay, I totally forgot.
It's okay. In fairness, I was waiting for you to subtly imply where you lived, so that I didn't have to be like, oh yeah, and Pancho, where are you from again? So it's fine. We mentioned it a second ago, thoroughly researched before we started the podcast. Yep. So yeah, I think that's obvious to everyone. No, I'm in Iowa. And so we actually, we were supposed to go to a little get together with friends the other night, but we had to cancel because we got the freezing rain that turned everything to ice. And so it is still drizzly and gross out. It's supposed to get above freezing, but it is just frozen ice, out there, and so it's a gross, yucky day out here.
It's been in the teens the past couple days here. We had a little bit of snow, but we had some teens, and now it's 34. It's quite warm. That extra 10 degrees or whatever, it's made it kind of nice.
We've had some snow, but nothing really stuck around.
Yeah, same here. And I actually have good news. The ever since Thanksgiving, I don't know what date that was. That was 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Something like that. 2 weeks ago. So we traveled. We went down to South Carolina to see some family and stuff. We came back. And then as soon as we came back, family got sick. My wife, myself, both our kids, they got sick. And anybody who has kids, it's the worst when the kids get sick.
Yeah.
Because even if you're feeling horrible, you're feeling whatever you're feeling, you still got to take care of them. But it's one of those ones where like my youngest, it just wouldn't go away. It just would like my young, it just wouldn't go away. But like, and it was like the, everybody remembers that one kid in elementary school that they're sick. Clearly they're walking around. They have like green snot just running out of their nose. Like everybody had that one kid in their class, right? That's basically what it was. She just turned 2 years old, and it was like that for like 2 weeks straight. It was horrible. Finally today, didn't have to wipe her nose at all. It's like, thank you. Finally, everybody's doing better.
Oh
Nice.
gosh.
Oh man, but things are good here. It's we're glad to get back into things, get all the sickness out of the way before Christmas starts, and all the family comes in. So that's great.
Right. Yeah. They're not going to get sick again this holiday season. We are not jinxing it right now.
Exactly.
Talking about
Exactly.
it. It's smooth sailing.
Exactly. Well, this is episode 28. Great to have you on here, composer Ashley. Thank you again for joining once again on this episode. We're gonna jump right in, and composer, let's talk about you a little bit in case any of our listeners aren't familiar with you. You have made we'll get to like where you start and everything, but just so everybody knows, composer has made like every song you've ever heard in a Mario ROM hack. Like this is a thing, right?
Not gross exaggeration at all. No, not at all. I got started. I came into Twitch on the Mario Maker wave, like I think a lot of people did.
Yep.
I hadn't really. I didn't know about Mario Maker until it had been out for about a year, but I saw some YouTube videos, the classic Carl Sagan and Grand Pooh Bear and Carl versus Pooh YouTube videos and stuff. And so I had never really like messed around on Twitch much before that. Like I was 1000% that play my level guy. I saw some YouTube videos where Pooh was playing some music levels, and like I in my humility, I was like, I could totally make better music levels than these music levels that Pooh's playing. Like, give me this Mario Maker. I'll show you what's up, because my chat knows that I'm great at a lot of things, but being modest is the thing that I'm best at. So I went out and I had a Wii, but I like took it upon myself that I'm like, no, Mario Maker is an excuse to get a Wii U. I got myself the Wii U and made a couple levels. They were all terrible. But this was like, so, people know Barbarous King and Pooh and stuff. They're like, there was a before time when like these big streamers like used to play people's viewer levels on Twitch. And so like, and when like Barbarous King and Pooh themselves were not, as big as they are now. And like I started showing up on Twitch, trying to get some attention, just like everyone else who showed up in those early Mario Maker streams. And eventually people played some of my stuff. They liked it, word of mouth spread. And so I remember it was like, let's have composer make some music levels. And so I did that. And then Barb started making Grand Pooh World. And that's really when I started making music for ROM hacks. Things that you alluded to is I only knew about Super Mario World ROM hacks through Mario Maker, through Twitch and everything. And and so then Barb had already more or less finished up Grand Pooh World and was like, he had a wild hair that he wanted to put Tarzan Boy as the title screen. Because he was like, this whole hack is dedicated to Pooh. I love Tarzan Boy, and I'm putting Tarzan Boy on the title screen.
Okay.
And so he was just like openly asking Twitch chat one day if anybody could do it. And I had already made the Tarzan Boy Mario Maker level. That's kind of the first level that people reacted to. I got Barb to play a Tarzan Boy. And he was like, I feel like this level was made for me. It's because it was. And so when he asked about the Grand Pooh World thing, about the title screen, I was like, look, Barb, I already have the music. Like I made you the Tarzan Boy Mario Maker level. The Mario Maker level and porting music into an SMW, these are like the same thing. It's just like, so I'll just I know how to make music in SMW. Sure, I'll make it for you. And this is where branding really helped me out, because there were probably other more talented people in the Twitch chat that could have helped him out. But Barb was like, no, I'm going to have the guy with the name Composer do it. Right? This guy clearly knows.
Bravo.
That was going to be my question. Was your name Composer at the time and everything?
So when I very first got Mario Maker, I was just Tyson. I just had created just an account with my real name. And then I had there was a moment where I felt like maybe I could, that I should actually have like a Twitch handle and not just my real name. But also kind of think this, I had made some music levels at that point, but not a ton. Mm-hmm. And then I had one of those wake up at 3:00 in the morning genius ideas of just put the underscore between the M and the P. And I was and that was one of a few smart ideas I've had lifetime total. And so, yeah, because the poser, I have imposter syndrome, as so many artists do, I think,
Sure.
Com is in computer. It's an online identity, right? It's simple, and so no, then I went and changed my Mario Maker stuff over to Composer and, kind of rebranded as that moving forward and everything. But yeah, by the time Barb was doing Grand Poo World, he was looking for that. He liked what I did with the Tarzan Boy port, and then was trying to think of what to do with the credits. And I think he had wanted to do Africa by Toto. And then the vanilla SMW credits are kind of broke up into 3 parts. There's Yoshi and Peach and Mario,
right,
with the Yoshi eggs leaving the castle.
Yep.
And then there's them showing up at Yoshi's house, and then the eggs hatching. And then there's the 3rd segment, which is the credits that show all the different enemies in the game.
Sure.
And so there's actually 3 separate music cues for that. And so I told him we should do Africa for the first bit of the credits. And then when it goes to Yoshi's house, we'll transition to Hold On for One More Day by Wilson Phillips, which is also a big meme song in Pooh's chat back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And so I figured out how to essentially take just the opening 4 or 8 bars or whatever to Hold On and put that over the Yoshi's house scene, and then the rest of Hold On plays when the enemies are showing up, that portion of the credits. And so yeah, Barb was I kind of convinced him to when we were trying to figure out what to do with the rest of the credits. And so we did that, mm-hmm. and that ended up going over like gangbusters, because that Bowser fight in Grand Poo World 1 is stupid hard.
Yep.
And so it was like a musical balm at the end. There was healing, there was catharsis in Wilson Phillips. But yeah, like that. And for those of you watching the stream, that's why I wore the Barb shirt today. Like Barb was very much part of my origin story. Getting him to play my level, and then, from there, getting him to trust me to make some stuff for his hack.
So when you made like Mario Maker levels, once you started, you said you made some original levels that were just terrible. But when you started going into music levels, is that basically all you did at that point? Like you didn't really make any like just standard platforming, or was it all just music based?
So yeah, there were a handful of levels that I uploaded that were just like straight up platforming levels, or I hadn't made music, and they were god awful. Like I will tell you that like I got Mario Maker not because I thought that I was an expert level designer, but because I wanted to make music in the game. And then the level design came as a product of, not wanting to make levels that weren't levels. So when I got Mario Maker, there were certainly people that were making music levels that had platforming in them. Like I think people unfairly attribute that to me, like, oh, before Composer, back in the old days of Mario Maker, all music levels were just auto. Like maybe I proliferated that a bit. I think that's the right word. But like people like Boss Man, Jordan, Shrent, Ren, other people that I'm certain, Pink Birdo, there were already creators in the scene because they had done the 1 year Mario Maker anniversary celebration.
Right.
for those of you who watch on Twitch, yeah, they kind of put together a collection of levels, have the community put together levels. And so there were already people making really cool stuff. And like when I first started making music levels, there were some tips and tricks that I picked up from these people that had already been making music levels and had already been trying to make music levels that had platforming in them. Because the thing to all of you wonderful viewers at home is that like everything in Mario Maker is budget based. You only have so many entities that you can add.
Right.
And every note that you
Yes.
add is another entity. And so typically by the time you get done putting in all of the enemies or the items that are playing the notes, you don't have much budget left for anything else. And so like if you've used up 90 of your 100 available sprites, you only have 10 sprites left to try and make something interesting with platforming. And so a lot of people that did like platforming and music levels, the platforming was very rudimentary, very basic because you didn't have much stuff left to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I kind of stepped in and went like, how can we find more ways to be budget friendly and so like finding setups that allowed multiple notes to be played by the same enemy, or have items spawn from note blocks, which didn't technically count towards your budget because reasons. And so like trying to find ways to go like, how can I put in all the music that I want in the level and still have stuff left over to make interesting platforming? And that in and of itself is a challenge because the music has to go where it goes. And so then you try and take the negative space that's left and go, can I make an interesting Mario level with what's left?
And what's interesting about that too is because you said music notes have to go where they go. So when you're making a music level, the levels are auto scrollers because the tempo has to be kept up and everything. And then on top of that, the platforming you're talking about isn't just like you said, you want to be more interesting. It is Kaizo light. It's all that stuff. It's not just running and doing simple jumps. Like there's actually some tough moves at times.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. I think a podcast is the perfect spot to describe this visual medium. But yeah, effectively, we have you have a note block, which is the thing that's responsible for making the sound. And then you have an enemy like a Koopa or Goomba or whatever, or a power up like a mushroom or fire flower that's positioned above that note block when the item spawns on screen. Due to Mario's movement or the auto scroll, it lands on that note block and then sits up above it. And so it usually just triggers once. And so the auto scroll is kind of, if you kind of think of like a player piano, or like even like a DAW or like a piano roll in a digital audio workstation, the auto scroll is essentially acting as the tempo where it is spawning everything onto the screen at a consistent rate. And so that is effectively your tempo. As the enemies spawn onto the screen, they drop onto the block, they play their note, they, land on a perch above the block, so they don't keep playing. And so, so like back in my day, in the early days before people started doing track-based setups and all sorts of other crazy stuff that's way beyond me, the majority of music levels in Mario Maker were auto-scrolling levels because it ensured to the creator that when the player played the level, the music all played back at the correct speed and everything loaded onto the screen at the correct time and everything. And so that, kind of led to what we refer to as Kaizo, which really, when I think of the term, I just think the creator has given you one intended solution through the level. Agency is, you think of a standard Mario level, player can jump up on something or hit a coin block or not hit a coin block, or, they kind of play the level at their leisure. With Kaizo, you got to do what the creator intends you to do, lest it be cheesed. And so applying that idea to an auto-scrolling music level where I'm like, well, look, this is only the space that I have left to work with. Can I make some interesting, challenging platforming, that's not just kind of moseying through the auto-scroller and jumping here and there? Can I make something with a challenge? And so, but like I said, not really knowing anything about level design, like my first couple of levels that I made, I was like, well, I watch streamers play hard things, and I also made something that was really hard. So you should love my thing as much as the other hard thing that you spent 4 hours trying to beat, right? But like not understanding the difference between like arbitrary, stupid, hard because it's blind and you can't figure out what you're doing, which is like what I made. And like difficult as in like, no, I know what the task is. I just have to set about doing it. Right.
Okay.
And that's really the difference between, you know, like well-made Kaizo and poorly made Kaizo is like, it's all difficult, but you know, there's some nuance there. Right. And so my first couple levels were, very trash for that. But like, I had met other people in the community through Twitch that invited me to Discords that were willing to play test my levels, provide me with feedback. People, some of which are still around. People like Bossman, we don't see Bossman as much anymore, but Kiavik is still around in Twitch chats. Bufflin, Ashley, who like, and so like some great creators, who, you know, saw the flower that could potentially grow out of the pot of dirt that was my level design and were willing to kind of play some of my stuff and give me feedback. And so, my level design got better, but it was I never really set out to make really cool levels. I just wanted the player to be able to do something while they were listening to the music. And I became one of those people that's like, oh, I didn't realize my levels were as hard as they were. I just made stuff that I thought was fun. And now the streamers are struggling with it and I'm uncomfortable.
I mean, it's people don't really understand what like we all come from a Mario Maker background, but I don't think that people who've never made a music level really understand all that goes into it, because you have the limited sprites. You have to do certain things to make that specific note happen and have it at certain heights. And then with your limited resources, you're also expected to make a great level. So it's not just like these people who are making amazing levels. You have limited resources and you have to make a perfect song and a great level. So there's so much more that goes into it. I can only imagine that it would take a long time for somebody to really like, you know, get into the groove of being an amazing music creator in Mario Maker.
Within the community, it's pretty well known that like if you're trying to make a music level or you're trying to make a troll level, you are basically working from a negative budget, because like it's similar respect to troll level creators as well. Like a lot of their setups and everything are these very elaborate mechanics that are going off screen that require like tons of sprites just for like one silly gotcha. And so, it's just Mario Maker Nintendo, they throttled to some degree, you know, how much stuff you could put in a level because they wanted to. Is Little Timmy a swear? Can I say Little Timmy?
You sure can.
Okay.
I
knew this was a PG podcast or whatever, but so, you know, there were people out there that you would fill a level completely with garbage if Nintendo gave them as much budget, you know, as many sprites to put in a level as they wanted. And I'm sure it would take up more space on servers and blah, blah, blah. And so like, if you're just making a regular platforming level, you're just making a fun, chill level in Mario Maker, like you would never stop to think that you aren't going to have enough resources to achieve your end. But the moment that you start putting, and the thing is, a lot of the music levels back in the day, I guess some to my credit, when people made music levels, it was usually just like the melody of something, you know, they would take, you know, just kind of like the hook, and they would that would be the music that you would hear. But I was like, can I get the melody in and also the bass line and maybe some of the harmonies, or maybe this background little figure? Can I include that? Oh, and what about a bass drum part and a snare drum part, right? And so like, I was like, how layered can I make the arrangement in Mario Maker, right? How much can I sell it? How much can I go full send? And like Grand Pooh Bear and some others early on, their feedback was similar. They're like, you know, like I listen to this other guy's music level and it's just like a melody line, but like, you know, composer puts the whole thing in there or whatever.
Yeah, composer composes.
Right.
Right. And so, so that like, as artists, some people don't like being given a box to work in. I think a box can be very useful, right? There's still a lot that you can do within a box to be creative and not feel stifled. And the working with the restrictions, right? It's like working with pixel art or working with, I don't know, any other things that if I was more clever, I'd think up on the spot, right? But the fact that you have a limited pool of resources and you have a lot that you want to do with it, and you go, okay, can I recycle this thing? Because this thing that played a note now become an obstacle for the player.
Oh.
Can this enemy hit a note, walk a path, hit a dead end, walk back, and hit that note one more time in perfect sync with the auto scroll to make it play a note a measure or two later before it despawns to the auto scroll, right? Like just being willing to go, okay, these are my restrictions. I'm going to ask myself a bunch of questions about like what I can and can't do. And then you go test things out. Okay, this Goomba walked 3 spaces and it played late. Okay, now it only walks 2 spaces and it played early. Okay, I'm going to have it bounce or fall off a block or whatever. And now the distance that it took to fall from one tile down is the perfect spacing to land on that block a second time. And now I just save myself a single resource, a single sprite of 100. So now I just got to go do that like about 10, 20, 30 more times. And like, I'll have enough resources left that I can actually make a level after the music is in there. And so, I don't know, some people like Sudoku or whatever, I liked the challenge that posed, right? Like, can I work within these limitations and still achieve a cool end product?
So when you started making music levels, in Mario Maker, how established was like, here's the setup if you want to make this specific note, if you want it to sound this way, because different enemies make different noises, obviously. Like how established was that, or did you also have some input in helping further build out the variety of sounds that you can get?
Yeah, there were, so like one of the most basic things that you might want in terms of like conserving resources is like a bass drum and snare drum hit, right? You got a bass drum on 1 and 3, a snare drum on 2 and 4, boom, clap, boots, pants, boots and pants, right? And then if you're lucky, you get a hi-hat and then you get boots and pants and boots and pants and boots and pants, right? And so like if you are basically the length of a subworld, right? In a Mario Maker level, you have a main world and you have a subworld. And the length of a subworld, if you were to, and again, I'm going to try not to overly nerd out here or anything, but a little is probably going to spill out. But everything in Mario Maker is based on a grid system, right? Like when you're in the editor, everything is tile-based, grid-based. And so if you assume that a single tile is a 16th note, which means that in a measure of 4/4, which 4/4 is the most common time signature, that's 2 boots and pants, right? Boots and pants and boots and pants and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? So that means there's 16 tiles in one measure of music, right? 16 tiles across. I'm making gestures to my video for all of you people listening. This is going to be super helpful for you later. And so if one measure is 16 tiles, then an entire subworld is about 13 measures of music, right? That's as much music as you could fit if you had a song that was in 4/4 time and you wanted to put it in a subworld. And so that means if you wanted to have a kick drum and a bass drum in that track, right? That's 2 kick drums and 2 snare drum hits every measure. So that's 2 times 13 measures. So that's 26 plus 26 for the snare drum. That's 52. You only get 100 sprites and 100 power-ups. And so if you count the sprites and the power-ups, you have already used over a quarter or half, depending on how you want to look at it, of your resources just to make just to make a drum groove.
Sure.
And so those were some of the earliest setups that people found. And I was not the one that discovered those original Mario Maker 1 setups. There were Japanese creators that had come up with them, and people within the Discord communities that had played those levels, like people like Bossman, had come up with some of those very first setups. Like there was this rather elegant solution where you have the conveyors in Mario Maker that, items move on.
Right.
And you could put a conveyor next to a note block. And if you put the POW, which the POW is what makes the bass drum sound, you could put the POW on the conveyor and then put a ceiling above the note block, like I think 3 tiles above the note block. And the POW would travel down that conveyor, hit the note block, bounce up, hit the ceiling that you put there, land back on the note block, and the rate at which it bounced on the note block and hit the ceiling matched up perfectly with the fast auto scroll speed for a 4/4 groove.
Whoa.
Right? So suddenly, right, you have, I just want to have a bass drum going boom, 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 boom on every beat, and you're like, I can't afford, if it was 4 bass drums to a 4 bass drums to a measure, that's 4 times 13 measures. What did I say? That's 52, right? Just to have the bass drum going. Now I can use one sprite and save all of those. And well, actually you can't, because the other annoying thing is that items despawn as things scroll past, right?
True, right?
So then you have to find out, okay, well, I can just take this setup with this conveyor and this POW, and I can just repeat it right at the moment that the previous POW has despawned. So figuring out how many tiles does that item take to despawn, put another setup there, right? And now maybe instead of, 52 or, whatever it was, now maybe it's 6, right? And now you have a bass drum going the entirety of your subworld, and you saved yourself loads of resources. You could similarly do that with a P switch, which was the snare drum. I'm sorry, I also said P. I hope that's okay. And so, so there were some very rudimentary setups like that people had figured out, and there were some things that seemed like through beautiful circumstance just happened to sync with the speed of the auto scroll, where it's like, wow, how did just allowing this item to bounce infinitely on this note block until it despawns, how did this perfectly sync up with the speed of the auto scroll, right? So there were certainly some things that were fortuitous like that. And like the conveyor setup for the rhythm section, right? For the bass and kick, or excuse me, the bass and snare was certainly one of those things. But then there were other setups that we had that I tried to figure out to, save even more resources. And some of those setups were literally just like, and I have this enemy bounce on the note block, land, walk some amount of distance back to the note block or to another note block that may or may not be the same pitch, and then land again perfectly in time with my music, right? And then after that enemy lands the second time, can I get it to rest somewhere safely so it doesn't keep playing notes that I don't want it to play, right? And so like a lot of those early days was just like trial and error of going like, and I would have setups that only worked with certain enemy types. Like, oh, this setup will allow this spiny to play 3 notes exactly when I want them to, but it won't work with a Koopa or whatever, real little like weird, because like they'd have slightly different hitboxes, they'd hit the ceiling differently, they had different walking speeds. And so, that was just kind of like the sandbox we were playing in those early days, was going like, okay, I want to, it's like organic growth, right? I want to get more out of the product, but I'm not getting any more resources, right? Like, how can I do more without getting more?
Well,
yeah,
what
exactly.
about when?
So now, of course.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
When it switched over to,
I was just going to say, when Mario Maker 2 came out,
that's what I was gonna ask,
all of those setups went away.
I was going to ask you, how was it different when it switched over to Mario Maker 2? Did it present a lot of new challenges for music creators?
So the early days of Mario Maker 2 for the people who made music levels were kind of sad, because like pretty much we had like I'd say like 3 or 4 like tricks that I leaned on aggressively for Mario Maker 1. That some of them you could argue were glitches. Like, again, I'm gonna try not to nerd out too much here, but it's already happening. It's all over the place.
Just embrace it. Just embrace
right.
it.
So like some enemies are a single tile enemy, right? They only like a Goomba, right? Or even like a piranha plant, even though a piranha plant looks much taller, it technically counts as a 1 tile enemy, right? In Mario Maker. But then you have other enemies that are 2 by 2, like think of a thwomp, right? It's 2 tiles wide, 2 tiles tall, right? Yep. Now, you could also stack enemies in Mario Maker, right? So now if you took something like a muncher that is a single tile enemy and you stacked it on top of a thwomp, that muncher is now offset on the tile, right? Because it is centered itself on the thwomp. So now rather than that muncher being inside of the tile box, it is shifted halfway between 2 tile boxes, right? Following me so far? This all tracks, right?
I've seen,
right?
I can picture it. I've seen it.
Right. And so, that muncher is either on the left tile or on the right tile, but if it is stacked on the thwomp, it is halfway between both tiles, right? And so what that means is that if I can stack an enemy halfway between a tile, then I can make a music note play halfway between 2 tiles, right? And so there was a setup that we could do where you could stack an enemy on a thwomp and then take like a giant Podobo, a giant fireball. And now, you can't stack enemies on Podobos. That's just like a limitation in Mario Maker 1. Like you can't make an enemy stack with fireballs because they fall into the lava or fall into the screen, go back up. So if you were to say stack a muncher on a thwomp and then drag a large Podobo over to where the thwomp was, the Podobo would replace the thwomp, but would not reset the muncher. It would leave that muncher offset and broken, right? And so at that very moment, that means like literally any single tile enemy that I could stack on a thwomp, I could leave perpetually offset, which meant that it spawns onto the screen half a tile earlier than it normally would, or half a tile later. So now I have an additional subdivision in the music. Now, if I needed a note to play exactly halfway between 2 tiles, I could make that note play, right? And so this is the kind of nerd stuff that we all went crazy for, trying to figure out like, how can we get the game to do more than Nintendo intended us to, more than intended, right?
Yeah.
Now, so like you could argue that's a glitch, right? Like being able to keep now, if you then drug the muncher around or whatever, it would snap back into its tile where it belonged. But if you just deleted the thwomp, or, and you couldn't delete the thwomp either. If you deleted the thwomp, Nintendo had the coding and it would snap back where it was. It was only if you took an enemy, a 2 by 2 enemy, and you stacked a 1 by 1 on top of it, and then you used another 2 by 2 enemy type that couldn't stack, it like Nintendo didn't account for that interaction. And so you use the Podobo to override the thwomp and the enemy doesn't go back to where it's supposed to go. And so
interesting.
Also very weird thing, the semi-solids, right?
Right.
That's also not a swear on this podcast, right? I can say semi-solid.
You can.
Okay, we're good still.
You're good.
Okay. Okay. Sorry if you have to edit that out later. So, you have ground tiles, which are completely solid, right? Mario can't pass through them, etc. But then you have semi-solid tiles, which have a ledge that you can jump up to, but you can pass through it, right? If you take a semi-solid tile and take it so that the top edge of the semi-solid tile is also at the same level as the top of a note block. So now it looks like, the note block is right there on the lip of the semi-solid. If an enemy lands on that note block, it plays half a beat earlier than it would if the semi-solid wasn't there. Why? Absolutely no idea, because Nintendo, right?
Yeah.
But there were these little things like that you start to notice. You're like, oh, wait. This semi-solid is actually musically impacting the playback, right? And I can use this to my advantage. And so like the level that I made for the 2-year Mario Maker project, I made the end credits music from Super Mario World. It actually sounds like the tempo, that the speed of the music changes multiple times. It has an opening tempo, a mid tempo, and then a third tempo, all within the same subworld. But this auto scroll is happening at the exact same speed. I was just able to subdivide those tiles to make the beat sound different, to make the rhythm and the tempo sound different, even though everything was still moving at the same speed. And so we had a bunch of those gimmicks for Mario Maker 1, but then the physics for Mario Maker 2 came out and that all changed. And now we've suddenly back to the question you asked me an hour and a half ago, I think.
How did that all affect everything? Right.
Yeah. Mario Maker 2, the physics changed because 1, Nintendo didn't like that we could do mid-airs, I guess.
Oh yeah.
So they had to take out mid-airs.
Yep.
And 2, the physics were changed to adapt to 3D world physics. So in Mario Maker 1, you could take a sprite, which is like a Koopa, Goomba, and think enemy, right? And you could take a power-up, mushroom, one-up mushroom, star, fire flower, whatever, and you could, in the editor, place them on the same tile. So I could have a red Koopa and a fire flower occupying the same space in the editor, and when you pressed play, fire flower was there, red Koopa was there, right?
Right.
And you could use that to your advantage when, like, say that you had a part in the music where, like, the bass line and the melody were both playing the same note. You could put both those, and the object playing the bass sound, the object playing the melody sound, put them on the same note block, and you're fine, right? You can't do that in Mario Maker 2 because in 3D world, power-ups interact with enemies and will, like, bump into them and have collision.
Oh.
And so the power-ups and the sprites the power-ups and the sprites could no longer be placed on the same tile in the editor because they have collision in 3D world, and that fell out to the other. So there were things like that, right? The conveyor belt with the POW setup for the bass drum or the snare drum no longer worked, right? Like the way the physics of the item moving on the conveyor was changed just enough that it didn't work. And so there were, the thing with the giant Podobo and offsetting the sprite no longer worked in Mario Maker 2, right? So there were all of these, gone. Right. And we're like, no, the end times music in Mario Maker is over. Pack it up, boys. But then we quickly found out that Mario Maker 2 came with a whole host of other new things that we could use to solve those same problems, and then solve even more problems, like the parachute ended up becoming a lifesaver because with the parachute, the enemy falls much slower.
Right.
And so we were able to calculate, if I want this note to play here, well, I can't put that enemy there for whatever reason, like I need Mario to go there, or there's another note playing there or whatever, like that space is occupied, right? If I move that note block back 6 tiles and move the enemy up 1 more tile from that block and put a parachute on him, he's going to fall at exactly the right speed so that he will play as if he were in that original spot, but offset 6 tiles with the parachute.
That's a lot of new options.
Right. Guess what? Back 6 tiles still doesn't work. I could probably just move them back 6 more tiles and then offset them 1 more and it would work, right? No, it doesn't. But if you did 5, you would have been right. So for whatever reason, the first time they need to go back with the parachute, 6 tiles. They need to go back another time or another time after that, it was 5. But whatever. And so, like, these were like the new things that we were figuring out. The thing with the semi-solids, the weird thing, that still worked. So fortunately, like, we still had, so like there were a couple of things that still carried over, and slopes were the other thing. So like the conveyor belt situation didn't work for like our rhythm section for our kick and our snare. But we found that if you put 2 note blocks next to each other and put angled ceilings, that it lined up perfectly with the auto scroll. And so a POW on a note block with an angled ceiling, chef's kiss. A POW on a note block with a flat ceiling, desync. Wow. And so like, it became solving the same problem again, right? Just differently, right? But so like it would be frustrating. They're like, oh, I need that fire flower on that Koopa to play the same note, and I can't do that anymore in Mario Maker 2. Oh, well, I can take that fire flower and move them back 2 tiles and up 2 tiles, and the time that it takes for that fire flower to fall will sync with its original spot. Or I can move them back 6 tiles and up 1 and put a parachute on them, right? And so that is all the stuff that is usually happening off screen. When you're playing through a music level, is you don't realize that we have created these contraptions. Or I found that, the rate at which an enemy bounced off of a note block if in a 1 tile gap. So normally you have a note block enemy, and then you need a space above the enemy so that it can bounce on the note block up into that safe space, some sort of semi-solid type block, donut, cloud, semi-solid platform, right? But lands on the note block, bounces up to safety, does not trigger the note block again. Well, some enemies move, left or right, Koopas, Goombas, whatever. And so let's put a ceiling directly above the enemy so they have no place to retreat to. How many times will that enemy bounce on the note block before it squeezes out of that spot? And does the amount of bounces line up in time with the auto scroll? And the answer for some of those things is yes. And so there was a level that I made for X-Water. It was music from a Smash Brothers game, because nobody plays Fire Emblem, so you probably don't know the music from Fire Emblem.
Nope. So
but it was in a Smash Brothers game. So I can't, if I say Fire Emblem, people are like, what game? But if I say it's from Smash, they're like, oh yeah, I know that song from Smash. So there was a level that I made for X-Water, and that was another big, that's how I kind of blew up. God, I grew up a little bit saying that. But that's how I became known, is because, and this is my message to you kids at home, is that I started off in Mario Maker and on Twitch by asking streamers, what would you like to hear in Mario Maker? That was my big pitch. I'm like, hey Barb, hey Pooh, hey, previously High Five to Safety, now Slade. Yep. Hey, Grand Keys, anybody Grand Keys, shout outs to Grand Keys. So, trying to, because I'm like, well, if I make music that the streamer likes, there's a better chance they'll play my level than if it's just some random music level from Timmy, right?
Right.
And so, I have completely wandered around a point now. But yeah, so that's what Mario Maker 2 was like to start. It was initially all sadness and all of our cool tricks got taken away, and then going, oh, there are other cool tricks that we can replace those with. And beyond that, there are people like, I'm going to butcher his name, Yete. I can't say it. He's also known as, oh my goodness, I'm going to lose it. But there are just loads of creators that do these brilliant track-based levels. And the simplest synopsis of this is that I told you earlier that we use auto scroll to control the rate at which things play. But you could take note blocks, you can put them on a track, you can put that track on a loop so that those series of note blocks just continue going in a circle forever. And you can have those note blocks as they're going in a circle forever on a track, hit enemies or hit items, and those note blocks will play their notes. And so people have found these stupid, insanely elaborate setups that just break my brain every time, where they force the spawn of these items, of these note blocks on loops, so that they all spawn in correctly with an auto scroll or with a free fall or whatever it may be. And it creates this looping music that will just play forever. And we found items in Mario Maker that are on what we call global ground, which means that if you spawn an enemy or an item on, say, a snake block, or there used to be something else, but either way, that item won't despawn, even if you get so far away from it. We found ways to keep the item spawned. Again, saving resources, always the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So people set these elaborate track setups, and then they put these items on ground that prevents the items from despawning. And then you can have a player wander around the level, do whatever they want. They're no longer bound by an auto scroll because the machinery is all off screen. It all loaded in when the level first started, and you can't even get to it to mess with it. And so that kind of stuff, shout outs to the people who have figured that stuff out and can do it smashingly. I never got there. That And so, yeah, I'll take a little bit of the credit, but like mostly I'm just an idiot on the internet who, you know, people can put a face to. There are plenty of super, super talented makers out there.
So when you go to create a level, do you just do it all within Mario Maker? Do you create the music, or do you plan it out? Do you draw it out? Do you have another program that you kind of create it in, then you recreate it into Mario Maker? Like what's your like steps for doing that?
So back in Mario Maker 1, I was that nerd who I got the sound files from Mario Maker 1 as just like wave files, you know, the individual sounds. Another momentary nerd moment, and this is how music worked on Super Nintendo as well. But say you would have a sample of a trumpet playing burp, right? In Mario Maker, the trumpet sound is a spiny. The spiny only has one audio sample, one sample of a trumpet playing a note, and then that sample is getting pitch shifted. It is getting detuned up or down to get the other notes that would be in a scale, right? So like if you take a waveform and you compress it, the sound's higher. If you take it and stretch it out, it sounds lower. And so all of the instrument sounds, whether you're listening to music from a Super Mario World hack or music in Mario Maker, they're all one bass sound that is getting distorted to create all of the other pitches you hear. So anyways, I had all the sounds, and so I would go into my digital audio workstation, my DAW, and I would like work out the basics. But in Mario Maker 1, you had so few, the level of extra moves you had was limited, right? Like the variety of solutions that Mario Maker 2 offered with slopes and with on-off blocks and with parachute offsets and everything created a lot more ways to potentially solve a problem than Mario Maker 1 did. That's why when those tricks went away in Mario Maker 2, it seemed so tragic, was like, what's going to replace them? They took away all of the glitches that we used to our advantage. And so in Mario Maker 1, I would kind of go in, especially after I kind of got my rhythm, got my first couple levels done, and I would map out and go, okay, mostly it's because I wanted to make sure I had enough budget for it, right? I was like, this is the music that I want to do. Are there enough time? Like, I also, this is like my picadillos, but like, I don't like I don't want to transpose the music into a different key if the key doesn't work in Mario Maker.
Okay.
I also don't want the tempo to change too drastically,
That's
right?
fair.
And so the other thing to know is the lowest tile in Mario Maker is a C, right? Like a C on a keyboard. Middle C, no, it's not middle C, but anyways, it's C. And then you only get the span of 2 octaves. And so when I say octaves, think about like looking at a keyboard, you know, going from C to the next C up or the next C lower, right? So you only have a span of 2 octaves centered around C. Well, 2 octaves and a couple extra notes. But so like that means that like say a song that's maybe not written in the key of C or a distant key from C might not sit well within the available limit of, you know, notes that you have available. And also the auto scroll only moves at a couple speeds, right? And so like I'm persnickety about like, I don't want it to sound too slow or too fast, and I don't want to have to transpose it into a different key just to make it work. And so I would use my music program to see, okay, this is the piece that I want to do. Can I fit it in the original key when it plays back at the speed of the cheetah auto scroll, you know, the fast auto scroll? Does the speed sound right? And so I would kind of like work some of those things out in advance before, just to make sure I had the budget, make sure I liked the general result of what it was going to sound like. But then with Mario Maker 2, it became less about that because it was just like, we'll figure it out in post. I've already kind of convinced myself that I want to do this piece of music, and I have a general understanding that I think it's going to be fine. And so I'm just going to like overcommit to it until I'm frustrated with something that doesn't work. But at this point, I'm telling myself we're going to do it because I've already done the work of half of it before running into the brick wall. And then that's where like fun and creative solutions come from. You know, you're like, I've overcommitted before confirming this was actually possible. And right. Anyways, so yeah.
That's cool.
I think we circled back to the question, right? At some point.
We did.
We did. So you started off making levels for the creators. At what point did you decide you were gonna start streaming?
Yeah.
And did you and when you started streaming, was it just your level creation, or were you also just doing the viewer levels too? Like what were you up to?
So there was a point where I felt like I was like, because like I had started appearing in like Grand Pooh Bear and Carl Sagan's YouTube videos, right? And like even as a feature, right? I still remember I was over at a friend's house one night having dinner, and I saw that Carl Sagan had released a YouTube video, and it was my Hakuna Matata music level, and I'm like, oh, he played my level, and he made a YouTube video about it. Like, Poggies, I've made it. I have arrived. Look up at me and behold, peasant. And so, yeah, there was a point where I was like, yeah, I think I could maybe stream, and like I would at least have a couple people watching me, right? Because like people would always ask me questions in chat, you know, kind of like we're talking about, like, oh, how do you make the music levels? How, you know, and so I was like, at the very least, I could stream and I could show people, you know, the music level stuff. And at that point, I had also done a little bit of stuff for Super Mario World hacks, and like, I feel like there is a part of me that is very much an educator. I like finding out cool stuff and then sharing that with people, right? I'm a social butterfly. You can tell this podcast, I've been killing it. I think everyone would agree with that. And so like, I was like, I can probably jump on stream, and, you know, I'm not afraid to talk. I grew up in a household where if we weren't talking to each other, I assumed somebody was mad at somebody. So I was like, I can talk, and I'll at least, you know, I'll make levels, and maybe I'll do Super Mario World ports or whatever, and it'll be infotainment, right? But I did try, you know, in the early days, I like streamed Golden Sun to 2 viewers.
Yeah.
And so, you know, or the Messenger to 2 viewers or whatever.
Good game.
Oh yeah, both great games. And so, but yeah, that's kind of where that started from. And in the beginning, I was pretty exclusively Mario Maker stuff. And then, you know, kind of, and like, I had made music for ROM hacks for probably a couple of years before I even tried playing Kaizo SMW. I'm like, I don't got the skills. Like, I got quickie hands. I don't have the chops for SMW. And so, yeah, early days was pretty much exclusively Mario Maker stuff. And then, Cliffy, twitch.tv/Cliffy, shout out, let me do it. He had this thing for Mario Maker called Reverse 100 Ways to Die.
Oh.
And I don't know if anybody, Ashley, David, were you around on the Twitch machine when this existed?
No,
I don't think so.
That would have been
my
before me.
Yep.
Okay, so great required. This is homework for you now. I think the video exists on YouTube. So Cliffy had come up with this thing for Mario Maker that was brilliant, very fun entertainment, where because in Mario Maker 1 you had there wasn't endless, right? Like when you played,
right.
Well, I'm trying to remember what it was called, but you know, you'd have, if you played Super Expert, you had 6 levels or however many it was. Different modes. He had this game mode where what he did was he would so the night in question, it was me, Cliffy, Pangea Panga, and Grand Pooh Bear. And we were all playing through expert, super expert, whatever it was. But we were trying to die to everything in the game as quickly as possible. And so like that, the objective was not like beating stuff. The objective was like, how quickly can you die to all of the enemies? And so he had created this tracker.
That makes sense. Okay.
And
that's cool.
And we had like a bot for it. And so it was all 4 of us like racing through levels. Just like, is it worth playing this level? Do we need to skip? I need a thwomp. This level doesn't look like it has thwomps in it, right? I'm going to skip, right? And so we're all racing to try and die to all the enemy types. However, you know, all the rest of us, we're all seeing how many enemies we have left because, you know, he created like little visual for it and everything. And so what the channels, the viewers could do is they could gift subs to the streamer, and then the streamer would be able to put enemies back on one of their opponent's lists, right? So say that like I was getting down to only like 3 enemies left that I had to die to, somebody gives some subs to Pooh, and then Pooh's like, okay, give one to Poser or whatever, and then suddenly and so that is where I have, I don't know, 27, I don't know how many emotes, mid 20s or whatever emotes slots available. And the reason that I have those emote slots available are still because of Reverse 100 Ways to Die that night. People were throwing around so many subs like crazy because everybody wanted their guy to win or nobody to win and for it to go along in perpetuity.
Just the chaos.
Love it.
Yeah. And
it's awesome.
It was like that was one of the first things that like when Mario Maker 2 came out, we're like reverse and we called it Reverse 100 Ways to Die because he had another version of the game that he played when it was just him solo. But when it was the 4 of us, like those nights were like some of the funnest nights on Twitch. And like I said, the reason when you get partnered on Twitch, which that night led to my getting partnered. I count that as like one of those like catalyst moments where like there are like mods and like regular members of my chat that I got that night, that like would not have been introduced to my stream were it not for that evening. Some of my mods in chat are probably will be reacting to that on the stream there, but and so, yeah, that was really fun. And that was a thing that died with Mario Maker 2 because 3D World completely changed everything because now all of the enemy types aren't shared between. And, how do you do Reverse 100 Ways to Die when you just keep waiting for a 3D World level or something like that?
Right.
But yeah, that was like one of the things that pushed me from being a guy who streams to like, 10 or 15 people to, suddenly getting a little bit more of a viewership and stuff like that. And ultimately leading to my partnership. But yeah, those were the early days of Twitch. And yeah, if you find yourself bored one night, go onto the YouTube and find the Cliffy, Pooh, Panga, and Composer Reverse 100 Ways to Die VOD and have yourself a good time.
Wow. That's so cool.
That is really cool. That's funny. That was my next question was going to be talking about getting to partner and stuff like that, and it just kind of organically led to it. So that's really cool.
I could feel it.
Point. Yeah, you can like point to like this is in my Twitch history. These are the things, the events going on. It's cool that you can like point to that and be like, this is when it happened. Based on the community all helping each other out and stuff like that.
I 1000% scam Twitch, and I have never, I have always been very vocal about that. Like, no take backs. I'm still a partner. Thank you. But, and I'm sure, again, people who were around Twitch around the time that I got partnered, know that, and there's still people today, I'm sure, the idea of partner push were like, I'm only going to play this one game that like gets my viewers and I'm just going to do that nonstop until God, please Twitch partner me. I don't want to play Mario Maker anymore. Please partner me. Right. Like there were a lot of people who were going through stories like that. Right.
Yep.
And this, when the Reverse 100 Ways to Die was kind of at the tail end of the first Mario Maker. But then there was all of that enthusiasm for Mario Maker 2. And so I had gotten that little bit of a bump from Cliffy, that little bit of a bump in viewership. And then that also then propelled us into the release of Mario Maker 2. And so Mario Maker 2 had only been out for a couple of months. And that's when I was like, when I put out the music levels and, I'm going to hit the streaming. And like right as I got like what I felt like were all of the metrics that, Twitch gives you for, please do these things before you make us tell you no, and in a partner application. And once I hit that threshold, I submitted for partnership, but I also, they gave you an option to like include, like if you want to include like a document, a couple paragraphs, say something about yourself beyond just the metrics for partnership. And I was like, go to YouTube and type in com_poser and look at all of the videos that people like. I am the content creator's content creator. Like I was like, yes, I am this guy who is streaming on Twitch, but also this thing that I do. Look at these people, look at these, Orator and Grand Pooh Bear and Carl Sagan putting out these videos on their YouTubes. They're all videos about me.
Yeah,
They're not
right.
videos about me, but you know what I'm saying. And so like I kind of like tried to upsell myself a little bit on knowing that I barely had the requirements, if I'm being generous. And I got partnered on my first try. I got partnered. It was like 11:30 at night is when I got the email on March 9th. And so I considered that I was in Eastern time that day. And so I got partnered on Mario Day 310.
There you go.
And so, yeah. And so I've heard horror stories of people applying for partnership multiple times. And like, I don't say any of it to be smug. Like I said, I fully think that I con Twitch. They were like, oh, this is some very important person. This is like, telling Ryan Reynolds he can't be Twitch partner or something like that. We had no idea who this guy was. Give him partnership already. And I have squandered that opportunity since. Thank you, Twitch. So yeah, that was. And so I've been partnered, I don't know, what is this, 4 years now?
Wow.
I think I've been partnered. Somebody in chat will correct me here. It was my 4 year was March of this year was 4 years. So yeah.
We got partnered the same week. I got it March 4th.
Nice.
Aw.
That's Mara Day.
Mara Day.
Mara Day. We have Mario Day and we have Mara Day. Oh man. Well, that's cool. No, that's cool. Like it was it's interesting what all goes into making a music level that people don't realize, especially when Mario Maker 2 took out like the level editor of existing levels, so you can't really see it unless you actually have the level created on your own Switch, right? Like people can't just download it and open it up and just see like how chaotic it is, like up above, like barely above your character or below or wherever. People can't see the chaos that's actually going on to make it what it is.
There was there were some little Timmies out there. Sorry again for swearing, who would, go and in Mario Maker 1 would go download somebody's level and then just essentially literally recreate it block for block and then upload it as their own level. Because Nintendo was smart enough to know in Mario Maker 1 that if you downloaded a level, you couldn't just take that downloaded material and then go re-upload it. They were like, this is not yours. You downloaded this. You can't re-upload it. But if you were willing to recreate it block for block as an original level, Nintendo had no check against that. And so there were all of these cases where people were finding levels they made weeks, months ago had been completely ripped off by other people. And why you would need to do that? Like, what fake internet points are you clouding for to just steal somebody's level and re-upload it as your own? And so, yeah, Nintendo did away with that for Mario Maker 2. And they were just like, nope, you can't download anything now. Because all the best businesses know when you have a few bad apples, you throw a blanket over everything and punish everyone. That's like corporate America 101 there. Just in case you're looking to start a Fortune 500 company, punish everyone when a couple people misbehave. All right, I'm sorry. I put the soapbox away, Ashley and David. I'm sorry. Where everything's fine now.
Before we move on, I have the quickest question for you. Will you share with our listeners some of what others or you consider to be the best songs that you've put into music levels?
Oh, like as far as like what levels of mine I thought weren't total stinkers.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic question. So from Mario Maker 1, I think that my Shovel Knight level, it was a speedrun level, Strike the Earth. I think that one turned out really well. I think that the 2-year anniversary level that I mentioned, that was the Super Mario World end credits, that was just kind of like a really impressive feat of engineering. Like I was just proud that I could put so much of the music in and also get everyone who was judging and running the competition to say that it was acceptable enough to be released and everything. It was like checked all the boxes.
Sure.
the very last level that I made for Mario Maker 1 was a level for the incredible Paco. Shout outs to Paco.
We've
I
had
hope
Paco
he's
on.
feeling all right.
Yep, we've had Paco on the podcast.
So Paco did a thing called Get Peach or Die Trying because he's very clever. You had him on the podcast,
Yep.
you know. And it was like a little race thing towards the end of Mario Maker 1's life cycle. And so he had the whole theming behind it was all like hip hop related and what am I going to do in Mario Maker? Because like, you know, most rap lyrics, most like you that's not melodic, right? There's not pitch there.
Sure.
And so I'm like, what can I put in Mario Maker that like speaks to hip hop? And so like you usually have to rely on something that has like a melodic or sung chorus, right? And then just kind of make do with whatever the verse stuff is. And so I was like, oh, I could totally do Gangster's Paradise. And this was right when that cursed Sonic trailer came out with the Sonic with the bad teeth.
Yes.
And the internet was going crazy. And they were like, it's my nightmares come true. And it's on YouTube. And so, yeah, right around that time of that, before they went back in and fixed and made Sonic look not weird, that was right around the time that Paco was putting on this final Get Peach or Die Trying for Mario Maker 1. And so I was like, well, I got to do Gangsta's Paradise. And that was the other thing about Mario Maker 1 is they had costumes, #, bring back costumes for Mario Maker.
I know.
And so you could, you know, play as different within SMB1. And so, yeah, I made Gangsta's Paradise in Mario Maker 1 and used the Sonic costume. And that was another one where I was like, you know, I felt like that level kind of showed all of the tricks that I had acquired, you know, throughout my time on Mario Maker 1. Oh, also the Beat It level.
Oh, great
was also pretty good. But that was a tough one. You kill a lot of Yoshis at the end of that one, but I think that one turned out pretty well. My most infamous level, hands down, was the Calithon Love level that I made for, I don't know if David, Ashley, I don't know if you've seen the Calithon race.
I have not.
Yeah. If you were the people listening to this podcast, if you want to like watch something later and just know that like I will be here however many miles away, cringing, like physically feeling ill as you're watching this. It's like one of those like Force things, you know, like where Yoda just knows like you're going to be watching that video later and I'm just going to know that somebody's out there watching it and I'm going to be embarrassed. So there was, you know, there's like the GDQs and stuff like that. There was one for a smaller charity event and somebody reached out to me, asked me to make a level. And that was the only other time I tried to do like hip hop music in Mario Maker, and Pooh was going to be in it, a whole bunch of other Twitch streamers. And so I made a level where the first half of the level was California Love. California Love. I'm sorry if you're going to get DMCA'd for that now as well.
It's over.
Sorry.
It's over.
You're going to be okay. Okay. So I did that for the first half, and then I did Return of the Mac for the second half because
song.
like that was like Pooh's. That was like Pooh had a lot of meme songs. Is what you're learning from this podcast right now is that there were multiple musical memes in Grand Pooh Bear stream. And so I made that level. It got play tested. The person who play tested it was fine. They stumbled a little bit, but they were fine. They're also a very good player. And then that level went way over time. The streamers were all dying to trolls. The trolls were merciless and relentless and unending. Like I was cruel. I was mean. Poncho, if you've not seen it, enjoy it later. Make sure you have time. Because like I said, it was like a 45-minute segment that went like an hour and 45 minutes or something. It was. And like I had only just started streaming at that point, and I had created like a Star Wars style text scrawl of apology to like start my stream with. I was like, I had only just begun and it is all over. I was asked to do this thing and the thing went way over on time, and it's clear that the racers aren't even having fun anymore. It created some hilarious memes that still live on to this day. But if you've not watched the Calithon, the Mario Maker Calithon thing, and you feel like being embarrassed for me, please feel free to watch it. but yeah, that was like my first like I thought streaming was for me. I will never live down this moment, so I'm just gonna stop streaming now and find a hole to crawl into. Anyways, I'm sorry. So yeah, there's so yeah, Mario Maker 2, you asked for levels. Sure, that too. I think the GDQ level that I made that was the Gerudo Valley. It wasn't Gerudo. It was based on Danny Baranowski's version from Cadence of Hyrule, because Cadence of Hyrule was also getting speed ran at GDQ.
So good.
And Danny Baranowski freaking murdered it. He murdered that soundtrack for Cadence of Hyrule. So good. Somebody called the cops. And so like I was like, oh, that's getting ran. If they're doing a Mario Maker relay, I want to make his because that's also shortly after the Link power up came out in Mario Maker 2. So I was like, I gotta do a Link level with that. Yeah, and that was another one where like the mechanics of getting all of the music to play and have on-off switches trigger things so the music was different the next time through. That was just another one of those like mechanical engineering. How did I do that? So
okay. And then I have one final question before we move on.
All right, go for it.
What is your what work are you most proud of for porting to SMW? What's the number one song?
The port that I like the most.
Yeah.
For Super Mario World. I think probably I guess I'm going to cheat and give you two answers. One is on Grand Poo World 2, Barb gave me permission to make an original piece of music. Okay. You know, we spent quite a bit of time working on Grand Poo World 2, and pretty much everything that Barb had ever asked me for up until that point was just covers of, you know, here's a piece of music from Sega, or here's a piece of music from Nintendo 64 that's not on Super Mario World Central. Can you port this, right? But he had a level in Grand Poo World 2 that was the House of the Undying is what the level ended up being called, level towards the end. And he was like, hey, he really loved Tetrasphere music. And he was like, I want something that is kind of this vibe, but like, would you be willing to make something? For those of you who don't know, like Barb, like working with Barb, like he wants you to be creative, but like he also has an idea for what he wants. And so he's not afraid to tell you like, no, less like this, more like this. But you know, in very friendly, professional manner and everything. And so we would talk through things. And so like I made a couple stabs at something for House of the Undying, and he was like, it's just not heavy enough. Like I want you to really go ham on it. And so what I ended up coming up with, you know, is what ended up in Grand Poo World 2. So House of the Undying, the music in that level is original music that I wrote. And then I also suffer from George Lucas syndrome, where like I always want to go back and fix stuff that I've already done. I'm like, I can make it better. Just give me one more shot, coach. Put me back in. And so I had been working on like an updated version of House of the Undying, just because like I wanted to see, oh, it's been a couple of years, like what would I do with it? And so I was working on it when Barb was making Grand Poo World 3. And I was like, hey, Barb, you didn't ask for this, but like I have this new version of House of the Undying that I think is pretty cool. Do you have any place in Grand Poo World 3 for it? And that's what ended up being the music when you have the airship Bowser fight at the very end. So like after you defeat Bowser and you get the little Cuphead fight at the end, that's House of the Undying. It's just an updated version that I did for Grand Poo World 3. So I really like that one. And then on a similar side, I did a remix of Gwyn's theme from Dark Souls. Yes. And so that is the cape level at the end of Grand Poo World 3.
That's the first song I think about when I think about Grand Poo World 3. Yeah. I love that song so much.
And that was just another thing where Barb was like, look, I have this last level in Grand Poo World 3. It's going to be a cape level. There's multiple sections. I want something for it that's kind of bittersweet, but also actiony. You know, this level means a lot of things. It's like the last full level and possibly the last ROM hack I ever make. And so I wanted to feel all of these things and be all of these things. And so I was like, you know, we never did anything with Gwen's theme, and like you can't get more bittersweet than Gwen's theme, right? But it's like perfect. Obviously we don't want it to just be sad piano music, you know, it needs. And so like I love putting things into 7/8 time, and I'm not going to tell you what 7/8 time is because I'm sure we've already gone long on this podcast. And like the people standing off to the side here, you can't see them, but they're like making the gesture, you know, like
The cut it off
I'm
gesture.
like that guy who does the
They're
voice of
whispering into
Kratos at the
your
Game
headphones
Awards.
right now.
I'm like that guy from the Game Awards. Yeah, that guy. Anyways, so I covet the ability to at any point take something that is not in 7/8 time and put it into 7/8 time. That's very cool. It's something you do some music theory research. So I was like, listen, Barb, I have this idea. We're going to take Gwen's theme and I'm going to change up the groove of it. And it's going to be much funkier, much more of a vibe, but it's still going to be Gwen's theme. And he was just like, yeah, that's great. What are you doing still sitting around here? Just go make it. Like, I got to get this hack out before the twins are born. Like, perfect. Whatever. Go do it. And I'm really happy with how that one turned out. And I've also since gone on to orchestrate it, and I uploaded that to OC Remix, the orchestrated version of it, and it got accepted, but they have not posted it yet. I'm really hoping to get around to do. I should just post it myself on YouTube. Maybe by the time this podcast, actually, no, that's Monday. At some point, you know, maybe the other one will get posted onto my own YouTube. But so I'm happy with how that turned out. And also the credits for Grand Prix World 3 because
So
I
good.
smashed up Baltimore by Tarzan Boy, Africa, and Hold On. Like I made a little medley. Like you didn't ask me this question. I swear I'm going to shut up. But like the thing that first made me realize that like I really wanted to like make music rather than just be a guy that performs other people's music was like being able to elicit a physical, an emotional, physiological response from somebody. Like I've never, you know, we've never met officially, right? Like strangers on the internet, but like if they listen to a piece of music that I wrote and it gives them goosebumps or it causes them to physically react involuntarily, hopefully not retching or anything like that, but you know, the good stuff, right? The good stuff.
Yeah, the good stuff.
Like that's like crazy. I mean, that's like godlike, like that I could create that kind. And so like anytime I'm given an opportunity to do something like that, where I can like tug at the heartstrings, tug at the feels a little bit, like, and so I feel like, you know, like with the Hold On for One More Day at the end of Grant, like who was like dang near in tears. Oh, so you know, at the end of, you know, he spent so long with that Bowser fight and everything. And like, he was noticeably emotional when Hold On for One More Day came out, right? And like same thing with like the end of Grand Prix World 3 where, you know, it's the medley of all of that stuff, and so we're all having our nostalgia goggles moment, right? Over the lifetime of the Grand Prix World trilogy. And so yeah, I'm pretty happy with those.
That's cool. The one that I always think of, and it's only because I spend so much time with it, was your port of The Painful Way.
Yes, yeah, you were there for a minute. You know,
I spent 35 hours on Bowser and plus 14 hours in the level leading up to it. So I'm very familiar with your work on that. That's the one that always sticks out to me because I heard it. It was a great version, great port of the song. But that's what I always think of.
Yeah, it's I'm that guy that is always like my favorite thing that I did was the next thing that I'm about to do, and let's not talk about what I did before. Like I'm just always that perfectionist that I'm like, no, let's not talk about what I already did. Like I'll promise I'll get it right next time. But yeah, the Painful Way one was definitely fun because first Barb just wanted the music basically as it was for the Bowser fight, and that's the boss fight version of it, which is, you know, more one-to-one with the original. And so trying to find something that like hit with the chunky gent kind of energy in like, so that was like the first, like, because again, it's back to the box thing again, right? SMW porting is very restrictive, right? You can only do so much. The sounds can only be what they are to a degree. And so it was like, you know, how heavy can I make this? Right. You know, in SMW. And then the other fun challenge was, okay, now we need something different for the stage because he wanted different music for the boss fight. So I was like, well, if I take this theme and I put it in double time, which just means that I make the snare hit twice as often in a measure as it normally would. Now it suddenly sounds much more upbeat, and like I've kind of, without really changing any of the music, I've completely changed the energy of it. And then once I heard that slightly different energy, then I was able to iterate on that and go, okay, like how else can I change up this version of it to make it its own unique thing and not just the original, but with a different drum beat, you know? All right.
That's cool.
There we go.
No, that's cool. All right, let's move on to our next section here. Games that we are playing right now. This is the time where we like to kind of talk about whether it's on stream or, some of us play some games sometimes off stream, so
sometimes
we have time, we're gamers and we do that. Ashley, what are you playing? Start with you.
On stream. I don't know. So lore for our listeners. Not only do we have Pancho Taco, we have Composer, the doppelgangers. There is a third. There's a trilogy here. There is Bufflin, who we talk about often here, an amazing Mario Maker creator, amazing SMW ROM hack creator. I have been playing through his ROM hack. He also looks exactly like these two. It's kind of crazy.
The third,
the triplet. But he has
again, unfortunate for him.
No, you all three very handsome. Bufflin created a hack chicanery. I played through the beginner before, obviously, but this is kind of like I fell in love with Bufflin's levels in Mario Maker, played every single one of them, and when I heard he had made a ROM hack, I was like, I want to get a Super NT and start playing SMW. So this was always kind of my Mount Everest. Maybe not everyone's because it's not as tough as the Grand Poo Worlds and stuff like that, but it's at my skill level, it's been my Mount Everest. So I've been playing through that. It's been super fun. It's been a little slow for me. I only do it once a week, but usually I don't even do a whole level in a stream. But I did last week. I stayed up till 3:30 in the morning to beat a level. I was so proud of myself.
Bufflin figured out what regrabs were when he moved into SMW, and he put like the chonkiest regrabs that he could into chicanery. And so like the thing is so props to you for playing it, because like chicanery as a hack is way tougher than like the average Super Mario Maker Bufflin level.
Right.
It is definitely a step up, and like there are skills that you need for SMW that you do not get from playing Mario Maker.
Right.
So big GGs for taking that on.
Thank you. He had me play Aquagare before I did chicanery, because Aquagare is a notorious SMW ROM hack that is just like regrabs after regrabs, like it's just nonstop. So I'm very glad he had me do that, because it really has helped me a lot. But also I put out daily content on YouTube and stuff, so I need clips, and I don't beat these levels that fast. So I've been trying to mix in like an easier hack every week with chicanery. So I just finished Little Mario World, which was super highly rated on SMW Central. That's the only reason I picked it. It was super, super high up there in ratings. That hack was incredible. Absolutely loved it. So those are my SMWs I've been doing. I'm also working through the remake of Thousand Year Door, which has been so fun, so nostalgic. I love Paper Mario and Thousand Year Door. And I somehow was able to avoid spoilers when everybody was and their mom was playing the remake of Thousand Year Door.
Oh yeah.
So this is actually first time for me. So it's been super fun. And chat's of course been very helpful with like stuff I forgot. Actually, it's my brother's favorite game of all time, and he happened to walk in when I was stuck on something, and his like 3 words in my chat like saved the whole night. Actually, like I had a badge I didn't know how to use, like a Quake hammer, and it was the only thing that could kill this one enemy. And like the moment my brother got there, he was like, "Oh, you just need to put that badge." Thanks.
Oh,
bro.
so that they turn over onto their bellies and then you can jump on them.
Yeah, but there's this like rock spiky enemy guy that's the only thing that hurts him. So playing through that, of course, doing Ocarina of Time randomizers as well every Sunday. And I just kind of, as I learn them, I just make them harder and harder and harder. Maybe one day I'll randomize another game, but I'll never get over Ocarina of Time. It's my favorite game of all time. How do you get over the fact that you get to play your favorite game and it's different every time? I just can't.
Yeah.
I can't get over it.
Randomizers have really done insane things to expand the longevity of like those classic games. Whether you're talking about Link to the Past or Ocarina of Time, or I mean, they have, you name it, Super Metroid, you name a game, they have a randomizer for it these days. Yeah. If it was like a game of,
and go ahead.
No, I was going to say if it wasn't for the randomizers, I mean, what other options do you have? It's either speed running or just vanilla play, right?
Yep.
It's one or the other.
Trying to find a new glitch.
That too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Offline, I've been playing Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket, the app. The new app with Pokemon, the Trading Card Game Pocket, and I'm addicted.
You know, based on the expression on your face, I think like you were acting like we should be embarrassed or that you were embarrassed. But that's fine. Kids love the Pokemans. Like, and people talk in my stream all the time about the Pokemans. Like,
It's
I never had a handheld system like at the time that all of those games came out. And like, I remember Pokemon being on when I was a teenager, like getting home from school. But like, I was like watching like Batman, the animated series and stuff like that. And like, I don't know. I remember like the Digimon and the Pokemon, but like somehow, even though that I'm the approximate correct age for it, like I still thought there were only 151 original Pokemon. Apparently there's a couple more than that now.
There's a few more.
Yeah, just a few.
I can't say I've played all the new like mainline Pokemon games. Like I loved back in the day. Like I still have my yellow version and my Game Boy Color and red and blue. And I played Pokemon Snap and, you know, Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2 on the N64. But as far as like the new games go, like I really don't keep up with them by any means. But I've played Pokemon Go since it came out. I've like lost a lot of weight using Pokemon Go. Like I actually I actually, now that I have my car, I go to a park that's like 15-20 minutes from me that has like a jillion like Pokestops they're called and Pokemon you can catch. And it's just a good way to like get exercise on. I use it as intended to get exercise.
We have friends like our friends of the family who's had a kid that got like way into the Pokemon Go, and like it was the thing where like that kid trying to convince their dad to like get up at 2:30 in the morning and go to a park to get a Pokemon because it was only available at like a specific time of day or, you know, whatever. Because I'm guessing, you know, some Pokemons, they're nocturnal and some are the opposite of nocturnal, right? And so,
probably.
Actually,
exactly.
When I lived in Rhode Island, I lived in a neighborhood that had a historical cemetery, and there was always ghost Pokemon in the cemetery. I think that's kind of cool that it's like there's tropical ones on beaches. And anyway, I've been playing TCG Pocket. It's been really fun. And a lot of the members of my community are playing it too. So we have like a thread in like Discord where we share and everything. And that's been like super, super fun. I haven't done anything on mobile, like any mobile gaming in a long time, but it's been cool. That's what I'm playing on my end.
Very nice.
I've been to shift away from the Marios and the Nintendo stuff. So a lot of what my channel has shifted to in recent months is a lot of first playthroughs. For myself, of games that are often beloved by many viewers. Now, obviously, these are Nintendo ones. Like I did Link to the Past. I'd never played that. And Super Metroid. Never played it. Did them first place. You know, people are very familiar with it. They like to watch that. So I just recently completed Dark Souls 1 as a first play, which was, believe it or not, at least 90 to 95% unspoiled for me.
Wow.
All these years later.
Did they told you where the bonfire was in Sens though, right?
In Sens?
I was just trying to figure out how much your chat spoiled for you because not finding the bonfire in Sens is the worst.
The only, I don't know. I don't remember, to be honest. I think I did finally found that one, but
just like you don't remember the CGI hair.
Yeah.
Right, go ahead. Continue.
Okay. Yeah. We don't. Okay. Dark Souls. Let's get back to Dark Souls here. No, the only thing that I wanted help with, because judging by what people were saying, it was a product of its time around the marketing and the release of it, was how to get into the DLC and stuff. Not being in when the marketing was going on for that. And everything. Looking back at, I'm like, I don't know how you find the DLC organically today without being around for all that. So I did have some help there on how to get into the DLC, but otherwise blind playthrough, all bosses. I did before I went to go fight Gwyn. The only time I ever looked anything up was at that point. I was like, okay, DLC is done from what I can tell. Game is done. Let me just double check the boss list. So I pull up the boss list, and sure enough, all the named ones were done. And then I went to go fight Gwyn. So full boss run, DS1. Just finished that earlier this week, actually, on Monday.
Did you relight the fire? Or did you leave man to the age of darkness?
I relit the fire.
Okay.
Yep. I went.
Yeah,
down
I mean, there's
in
only
flames.
2 endings in Dark Souls. Yeah. Yeah.
I did all of it just to go down in flames, I guess. I don't
So
know.
then you're playing all of the other from, right? We're getting Dark Souls 2 next with all
so that was-
DLCs and then.
Yeah, so I wasn't planning on beating it that night. I didn't know I was that
You
close.
stayed up late.
Yeah. And I was like, so what am I gonna play next? I started looking through, I was like, okay, do I want to jump into like Dark Souls 2 or anything like that? But ultimately, basically what it came down to is I was ready to keep playing these kind of games. And actually I just did change a little variety for my sake. I moved into Bloodborne. So I started playing that just the other day, and I'm greatly enjoying Bloodborne.
It's a
so
great
far.
one.
Dude,
Very
I
fun
love
game.
Bloodborne.
It's
Like
great.
farming for blood vials is not fun, but like
No, I'm ready feeling that. Yeah, I'm feeling that pretty early on, but
doing the counterattacks with the pistol and getting the viscerals off the counters. Like, hopefully I'm not spoiling. Have you already done that? Oh my goodness,
Yes,
I'm already
yep.
spoiling. Okay,
yep, I've learned
you
to
know
do
how
that,
to parry.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. I'm
sorry, spoilers.
I'm still getting used to it because it's different than I've played Sekiro. I played Lies of P. They all feel a little different in their own ways. But so I'm forcing myself to be in situations where I parry. Like I'm trying to hold back from just killing the enemy to just kind of get the timing right. But it's I love the setting in the game, the Gothic the Gothic setting, and like the design
era,
of the enemies and the bosses is incredible so far. I'm having a great time with it.
Yeah, very Lovecraft, right?
Yes.
Yeah. No, the like Sekiro, Bloodborne, and Lies of P are like 3 of those games where like if you get down on parrying, like the parry mechanic is so satisfying. There's like I don't know, few things more satisfying than a game where you're going up against what seems to be like a super OP, crazy, insane boss, and they go to take a swing at you, and you're just like, boom, deflection, you know, like that's just, that's so satisfying. And you know that the timing window is very small. Yeah.
It's still not as satisfying though as in Sekiro doing the Mikuri. When you
the
do
Mikuri
that
counter, yes.
There is nothing in a video game more satisfying than successfully pulling that off, and then just if anybody doesn't know the Mikuri, it's basically when an enemy jabs at you with like a sword or a spear. You just take your foot and you just jam that blade right into the ground, and then you attack. It's pretty sick.
Yeah. And then after that, the game punishes you because you learn that. And then they start having the enemies that do like the arcing attack that you can't Mikuri. And then you have to know to jump over that. And then you get that second dopamine hit when you're like, I knew to Mikuri that time and I knew to jump that time. Like, look at how good I'm getting at these games. I'm dodging both attacks correctly.
It's so
very
subtle,
satisfying.
the difference that you have to be looking for too. It's so subtle. It's hard to get used to, but
and you
really
get into some of those. Get into some of those boss fights, and you're just like praying that you're reading it right, or you're like, the attack telegraph is too subtle. I'm just gonna try and Mikuri every time, and I'm just gonna eat it on the times that I did it wrong. But yeah, super fun. Good. I'm glad you're enjoying those.
Yeah, so that's what I'm playing right now. Offline, I'm not really. The only thing I'm playing right now is my buddy and I were starting to play a little bit of Path of Exiles 2, checking that out. And that's been fun so far. I think we're actually going to play a little bit more this evening when he is off work later tonight. So I'm looking forward to that. Game's pretty fun. But that's really it. What about you, Composer? What are you playing?
Well, I, like everybody else on Black Friday, dropped the massive $3 on Darkest Dungeon. That's one of those... one of those games that, you know, I've watched other streamers play it and I've never really understood what was happening. And like, you know, that's the novelty of Mario, whether that's Mario Maker or Super Mario World hacks, is that you don't really need to know much backstory, right? If you're flipping through Twitch, you can land on Mario Maker and be like, okay, we're going right and we're trying to beat the level, right? But like watching Darkest Dungeon, I'm like, there's a lot of numbers down there on the screen and math is probably happening and I don't understand player order and all of these things. Yeah. And so like I would watch people play it, but like I wasn't digesting what I was seeing on screen. But I had just finished up playing through my first Dungeons and Dragons campaign. I played through that on stream. I had never played D&D before, and so I'm like, this seems like adjacent enough. There's some logic here, right? I'm having fun with this, understanding the math. Like, if I knew math better, I would have been way better at Dungeons and Dragons, but I forget to add a critical or something like that. And
yes.
Anyways, so I found that Darkest Dungeon has been way more fun, like playing it now that I, understand it now that I'm actually playing through it. It's making a lot more sense. And I've beaten 2 bosses and I have killed none of my players.
Wow.
The cemetery is empty.
Nicely done.
So chat would say that I've been cheating. I've been getting quite a lot of lucky virtues, which is like you can reach a point in the game where your characters are so stressed out that they either like go crazy or like suddenly become emboldened and like become even better. And that's, I guess they call it a virtue in the game. And apparently I've gotten a unusually large number of virtues. And so chat thinks I've turned, apparently there's somebody else on stream, twitch.tv/laserbelch. Who apparently also cheats at video games, and so they have accused me of turning on the laser
Known video
mods
game
for
cheater.
cheating.
Oh, wow.
Right, yeah, exactly. Also, I hear he buys a lot of glue as well for. Anyways, I'm sorry. I should quit making like silly little in jokes that nobody's gonna know why I'm talking about glue. So I've been playing through some Darkest Dungeon, of course, playing through some SMW and some Mario Maker. There's that anniversary Mario project thing that I told you about earlier in stream. They've been doing that for 9 years now, if you'd believe it. The first Mario Maker came out in 2015. And so we are at the 9th anniversary. And so coming up, actually, I think just starting here this next week, they are going to release, they're having the 9-year Mario Maker anniversary celebration collection of levels. I made a level for that. So I was doing some Mario. I'd been doing Mario Maker less and less on stream, but made a level for that. I've been playing through some hacks, Darkest Dungeon. We just finished up. I played Death's Door before that. Death's Door Metroidvania game. Super fun if you like sort of bird's eye view, or what is it, 3/4 view kind of Metroidvania is super, super fun. But then off stream, I started because I got a Steam Deck for my 40th birthday. I know I don't look that old, especially to you people out there listening to me on the podcast. I definitely don't sound 40. So I've been playing through Hollow Knight again. I realized that like I'd really only done like one like full and complete playthrough of Hollow Knight. This is another fun thing. Look, this is a suggestion for all of you listeners out there. If you stream on Twitch, so Ashley, David, you're free to do this as well. Stream Hollow Knight, but put Silk Song as your game title because Twitch will let you do that. For whatever reason, Silk Song is in the games list on Twitch. God. So see how many people in your chat you can get angry by playing by playing Hollow Knight under Silk Song, because that's what I did. And people were not amused. The amount of people that came into my chat, they're like, "What? The game came out?" Anyways,
that's messed up.
It's because I'm a mean old man. So been playing through Hollow Knight off stream, just like in my, sitting around on chilling on the couch at night, and so that's been pretty fun. But yeah, I don't know. Mostly it's been like I've actually been getting into. I'm always somebody who wants to pick up some new habit and learn all about it, and so it's been a minute since I got distracted by a video game. But Hollow Knight's been a good time.
Excellent, awesome. We're gonna move on to one more segment here. We have voicemail and emails. We're gonna move on to this section really quick here. We do have a voicemail service as well as email. Our voicemail number is 402-915-1082. You call that number, it sends you directly to voicemail. You can leave us a voicemail and it might just be played on the podcast here. I do have one here today, and it's specifically, it is addressed to, it appears to be a question for you, Ashley.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and play this here from a mysterious caller.
Hey, great show. First time viewer, long time viewer. this is a question for Ashley, Florida. Does Lightning McQueen have car insurance or life insurance? Okay, thanks very much. I'm going to take my answer off here.
Oh my god.
Oh, what is it? This is a
fantastic.
question for
Wow.
you. The people want to know.
I have never been more shocked by a question in my entire life. For those who don't know, I work in insurance as like my actual like 9 to 5.
So you're the one to ask.
I am the one to ask.
We brought in the expert.
Wow. Oh my goodness gracious.
I just thought that was a funny voicemail. I had to play it.
Well, in my expert opinion, since the health insurance is for human beings, I would say that Lightning McQueen definitely has car insurance. Thank you so much, caller,
Well,
for
there
the
we go.
incredible question.
There we go.
There is your answer, caller. Again, our voicemail number is 402-915-1082. You can call that, go directly to voicemail. You can also text that number too if you want. It can receive text messages and they can be read on the air in that way too.
I don't think
And we also do have one. Oh, go ahead.
I just was gonna say I don't think that health insurance like has like oil changes and stuff on it. So
I don't think so.
That's just like annual checkups, right? Like,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
kind of.
Right.
And we also do have one email here. Our email address is email@arcadeparlorcast.com. Email@arcadeparlorcast.com. Send an email there, and it might end up on the episode too. Ashley, I sent you an email a little earlier in the day today. Would you mind reading that off?
Absolutely. This one comes to us from Piano Bar 77. It says both thoughts are for everyone, for guest and for hosts. There's 2 questions here. The first one is, what are your favorite holiday time movies, and is there a holiday game memory that you would like to share?
My favorite Christmas movie is The Santa Claus. The Tim Allen movie.
Mm-hmm.
I watched that
I love it.
many times growing up, and it is still probably it's probably one of the few that I look forward to watching too still. I really like that movie.
I'll go next. I'm actually watching it in my Discord tonight. My favorite Christmas movie. Do you want to do the second one after?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, just do the Christmas
my
movie.
favorite Christmas movie is The Holiday. It's definitely like,
Oh, good choice.
thank you.
Good
Thank
choice.
you.
Yes.
It's Jack
Cameron
Black,
Diaz, Kate Winslet.
Yup, Kate
Yep.
and Jude
Yep.
Law.
Mhm.
It has a great ending. It's funny. It's whimsical. And there's a tiny cameo by my favorite actor of all time, Dustin Hoffman. Very tiny cameo in that, which there's lore behind it.
Yes, in the movie store. Yep.
yep.
In the Blockbuster.
That's
Yep.
he actually that
Yep.
was not scripted. He happened to just be there, and then he was like, "Can I be in the movie?"
Oh, for real?
Yep. He was like, "Can I be in the movie?"
Hilarious.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep. So that's my absolute favorite.
You know what else is actually really
Funny.
good about the holiday?
What?
Is the score. The music for that
It's
movie
so
is
good.
very good.
It's so good.
The little main melody, ba-da-da-bum,
Yep.
ba-da-da-da. Like I can hear it in my head right
The
now.
little
Like
old
it's a
man
fantastic
theme,
little
like
melody.
Arthur's
Yeah.
theme, so good.
Yes, my wife introduced me to that movie. I had not seen it before I got together with her. And so like that was one of those ones where it's like, she put it on thinking like, oh, this will be like, one of those holiday movies that like I'll like sit through and tolerate or whatever. Like, no, man, that movie was good.
It's so good.
Like, heck yeah.
Underrated.
Yeah, it is good. And apparently a member of my chat is from the small town where they filmed the movie. And
Really?
like,
Oh.
yeah, like there's a scene where like I think it's like Jude Law and Cameron Diaz are standing outside of a bar or
Yep.
whatever talking, and like that was in his town, and he remembers the day that they like blocked off that road to
Whoa.
film that shot or whatever.
Cool.
That's
And
cool.
so yeah, but yeah, it's a good movie.
That's awesome.
As far as me, like if like as far as like I don't know, like I enjoy the holiday movies. I think it would be hard for me to pick like just one, but I feel like the first Home Alone movie had a huge impact on
So
me growing
good.
up, like from a musical standpoint, because like I realized so many of the like even like the Christmas songs that I like are because they were in Home Alone, and like John Williams and Christmas music, like. It came out right at the time that like I was the exact right age to see it. Like I still love watching it to this day. Like I love the music in it. Yeah, it's just like it's like a nice warm hug. I mean, Christmas Vacation, Elf. I have plenty of Christmas movies that I really love. You know, the holiday.
Sure.
You mentioned another game one, but like I think like speaking to like my craft and everything, like Home Alone had like a big downstream impact on me, musically for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as a Christmas memory, one that just came, I don't know if you've been on here for 28 episodes. I don't know if I've said this, over the span of 2 Christmases, but one of them that I can remember, in fact, there's 2. I'm just gonna say them really quick in case I already said one. Is for some reason I remember there was one Christmas where I guess the biggest thing is that I got a Game Boy Pocket that year for Christmas, and it wasn't like it was the translucent green one that was really cool, kind of like a limeish translucent green, really cool. But for some reason, I remember getting a Bomberman game for it. They had like it was a picture of Bomberman, but it had like an Indiana Jones attire on. And for some reason, I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. Like, there's nothing cooler than that guy on that game cover. Like, he was so cool.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I remember. And then I have fond memories also of when I got a DS Lite for Christmas too.
Oh.
It was the first DS I ever got. It was put into a gigantic box that didn't make any sense comically. Yeah, it was cool. Those ones, as far as video games stand out, is like opening up a reveal. Those are probably the ones that stick out the most in my head.
For me, I have a very quick 2. One is the most iconic picture of me ever taken in my life. I'm 3 years old and I'm holding up on Christmas. You're Ponch is nodding. My copy.
I've seen it many times.
My copy of Super Mario Brothers 3, my favorite Mario game of all time. I was just so ecstatic to get the game, and I've loved Mario since before I even understood what holding a video game controller really meant, and I was just pressing buttons. Huge iconic Christmas. And the second one was when my mom, she's such an angel. She pre-ordered me Breath of the Wild, and I want to say it was in 2018. Or no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Tears of the Kingdom dates. It was like 4 years before Breath of the Wild came out, so I'm probably saying like 2013. She pre-ordered me the game, not knowing the game was going to take 4 more years to come out.
Of course.
So it was, I remember I opened the box. There was a picture of the pre-order.
Cross-generation.
Right? Oh my God. I won't even go into how mad that made me. But that was iconic. I just had to wait 4 years for it.
No, I was watching that. Let's talk about your love of Breath of the Wild. I feel like we barely talked about how much you love Breath of the Wild this podcast, right? You really like it, right? That's what I remember, right? You love that it was on the Wii U and then on the Switch.
Listen, it will forever be a top 5 for me, no matter what system that it's on.
Okay. We like, I grew up in the golden age of video game rentals. Like, I didn't own a lot of games growing up, and there was one Christmas that my parents kept joking with us. There's 25 video games under the tree for you. And we're like, no way you bought us 25 video games. And they had gotten us a card for 25 game rentals and they had like put it on the tree. And I'm like, first off, it's not under the tree. It's pinned on the tree in a card. And second, these are game rentals. I don't get to keep these games. But like, that was still a pretty big deal because like we did not have money to spend on video games growing up. But yeah. And then sorry, that's not a Christmas memory. I'm then just remembering what it was like to have to go to try and convince your folks to go to multiple video game rental places because the game that you want to rent is not available. And like, good luck trying to explain to your parents how critical it is that even though there's all of these other games you could rent, it's not A Link to the Past or whatever.
Yes. Yep.
Like, yeah. Oh man. I remember that specifically with A Link to the Past. Like I think I got my mom to go to like 3 different video game stores that night. And I think that was like the top end of her threshold. Still no Link to the Past, but man, did I want to play it. Sorry. So
that cracks me up. I remember that about going to Blockbusters or Hollywood video stuff. Yeah. Have to go and try to find them. And, good luck, especially on a big hit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a Friday. The game came out or whatever. And even if the video store got 10 copies of it in or whatever,
It was gone at opening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some
First time
parent
people
already
in.
loved their kid more than your parent loved you, and they already took them there and they already got the game rented, and you're out of luck.
Oh, yeah.
You're playing Pac-Man tonight. I'm sorry.
We're going to move into our very, very last moments here of the podcast here. What we like to do at the very end of every episode is kind of go around the room and do a little bit of self promo where you can find each one and every one of us if we have a fun stream planned or some fun content that we're going to be pushing out fairly soon or something. This is the time we like to use that. Ashley, we'll start with you. What's going on?
You can find me on twitch.tv/Ashley with 2 E's _FL. You can go to ashleyfl.com. You can find everything. I put out daily YouTube and TikToks. It's all there. I stream Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday nights, Sunday afternoons. SMW Kaizo, doing 1,000 Year Door right now, Ocarina of Time randos, and I have a Christmas party stream coming up on the 21st. I'll be dressed as Mrs. Claus, giving you all of the Christmas advice.
Nice.
Excellent. Composer, where can our listeners find you?
Well, I still stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/com_poser. Also, like everything is on the link tree, right? linktr.ee, whatever they do, right? If you know how to get to Linktree, put com_poser after it. You'll find me there too, which links to website, Bandcamp, Twitch, X, Blue Sky, contact information, all that good stuff. There's too many social medias these days. You need one spot for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
For real.
Yep.
As for me, you can find me twitch.tv/PanchoTaco. That's the most of it right there. Currently just, playing through a lot of Souls games. I don't know. 2025 might be the year of From Software for me. I don't know yet. We'll see. We'll see where that goes. But if you want to watch blind playthroughs of everybody likes From Software games, you want to watch completely blind playthroughs, come stop by. And you'll probably see me beating my head against the wall against some boss or something like that.
I'll be the guy complaining that you're clearly not blind and you're not blindfolded. This is not a blind playthrough. Yeah. I'll be that member of chat.
Yeah,
and also, what's the deal with
guy.
your hair?
Yeah.
Also, is this live or a repeat?
Yes.
Right, I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're just going down the list now. Well, this has been episode 28. Thank you to those who have listened to us, whether you're here joining the live or if you're tuning in to the actual production release of this. We appreciate you. Ashley, thank you for being on the episode again.
Thanks for having me.
And Composer, thank you so much for joining us. We had a great time.
Thank you for having me. I hope it was as you wished, but it was lovely chatting with both of you.
Thank you, Composer.
Exactly what we were looking for. Thank you again. Everybody, have a great holiday season coming up. We will catch you in 2025. Have a good one. Adios. We will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.